Hi, I'm Billy, the Fuji Guys. Today, we're going to take a look at the Fujifilm X-A2 camera. This is Fuji's compact system camera that offers interchangeable lens capabilities. This kit includes the XC 16 to 50mm 3.5 to 5.6 OIS version 2 lens. This is an updated lens from last year's X-A1 combination of the camera and the 16 to 50mm lens. There's been some slight improvements on the lens itself, offering sort of an auto macro control that allows the camera to switch instantly without having to actually push a macro button on the back of the camera. So it's going to make it a lot easier for some of you who are not comfortable with changing parameters to have the camera really fully automatic. It uses a 16 megapixel APS-C sensor, so it's the same sensor size found on a majority of DSLR cameras. So you can get the similar image quality, if not the same, in the sense that you can get improved low light capabilities compared to a compact camera with a smaller sensor. Of course, you can get much better quality pictures than, say, your cell phone, smartphone camera would have. In addition to that, of course, having a larger sensor on a camera like this is also going to give you more control over the depth of field. In fact, you can actually isolate subjects a lot easier, even with, even with a slower lens compared to cameras that have smaller sensors. So you're going to really benefit from this. This video, we're going to actually show you some of the new features on the X-A2 and sort of give you some of the differences between this model versus last year's X-A1. The X-A2 shares a lot of similarities to the X-A1 in terms of look, style, and design. It's pretty much the same camera with some minor updates, which we're going to talk about today. First of course, is the color choices for this year. The X-A2 is offered in 3 different colors, from the two-tone black and silver finish, which is more of a sort of a retro-looking finish. You also got a white and silver finish, as well as a new brown and silver finish. So these are the new colors for the X-A2. Does it improve the performance compared to last year's model? Probably not, but it's a nice refreshment to this lineup. Again, the main feature differences between this and the X-A1, of course, is that there's a new flip screen here where you can not only tilt, where you're shooting low angles or above angles, but of course it also flips completely all the way up to about 175 degrees, and then you would slide the LCD up like that, and that's going to allow you to do self-portraits, whether it's sort of a fun selfie, or of course if you wanted to set it on a tripod and you wanted to take photos of the family, you can actually see what you're composing, as well as of course the ability to do videos as well, and again, seeing what the camera's seeing makes it a lot easier to use. So that is one of the new features of the camera. In addition to that, of course, you got things like face detection. This year they've added eye detection on top of face detection, and that's quite important for the style camera because with a very large sensor, it's very easy to really pull things out of focus. So if you don't have accurate focus, even on a subject's face, using face detection is one thing, but having the camera detect the eye where you want the sharpness to be at, it's actually quite more important. And of course, when you're using different lenses, prime lenses that have very shallow depth of field or very fast aperture, it's going to even make that much easier to actually capture a proper in-focus shot using the new eye detection. So we'll take a look at that feature later, as well as, of course, Wi-Fi capabilities where, with the X-A2, you can connect it to your smartphone and download images. You can also, of course, connect it to a Instax Share Printer, SP1 printer that allows you to make instant prints directly from the camera. So that's also a nice feature to have with Wi-Fi. There's advanced filter functionalities with a new feature in that, as well as film simulation modes, including the new classic chrome. And I actually like the classic chrome because it does give you this memorable image that has more of a subtle color to the picture, and it really stands out, especially if you want to take a lot of photos of the family and you want to have that vintage kind of look to it where it's really timeless. So that's a nice feature to have. In addition to the new 16 to 50mm lens, which is version 2, there's also a version 2 of the much longer zoom, the 50 to 230mm zoom, and that improves image stabilization as opposed to last year's version of that lens. Saying that, these cameras of course are interchangeable and can use XF lenses, which are the more premium lenses. So if you want to get more shallow depth of field, have a better build, you can pick up an XF lens, especially if you want to do a lot of portraits. Picking up a prime XF lens is going to really isolate the subject and make the picture sharper, as well as give you that nice defocused background. So again, the similarities between the X-A1 and X-A2 in terms of image quality are pretty much similar. But like I said, there are some new features that we're going to show you today in this video. So the new selfie mode is kind of neat on the X-A2. The way it works is, of course, you would flip the LCD screen completely up to about 175 degrees. And then once you do that, you slide the LCD upwards, and it locks in place, and it actually flips the display of the screen. And from that point on, the camera will automatically turn on face detection as well as turn on eye detection, so that when you do take a selfie shot of yourself, as you can see right here, you can get a lot more accurate focusing. So that's a nice feature to have. But aside from, of course, the complete selfie mode, you can also use the LCD screen to tilt it, whether you're shooting in low angles or you're shooting basically above you. That tilt screen is quite useful with the X-A2. So in the new selfie mode, it uses face detection with eye detection, which is kind of a neat technology to have. But in addition to that, you can also turn that on in the menu. So if you go into the menu of the camera, of course, you can go and select the face detection, turn it on and off, but you can also turn on eye detection autofocus. Now, the camera has different autofocus systems, from things like continuous autofocus to multi-point aerial focus. And again, going to the focus modes, you can change that and change it to things, like I said, multi-area, multi-focus, manual focusing, continuous focusing, as well as tracking autofocus. The new multi-area focus is kind of neat because it really picks up the multiple points in the scene that has the highest contrast. So if you have a subject that's standing in your scene, there's going to be multiple squares that fill in that subject if it thinks that's the main object to focus on. And having that visual confirmation on the screen makes it a lot easier to determine that the camera has actually picked up focus. Aside from that, you can still use the standard, area focus points, where you can move it to 49 different points. And of course, by pushing the shutter button halfway down to focus and all the way down to take the photo, that's also going to give you some confirmation. So again, there's some new improved autofocus systems, including that new multi-area focus. So the X-A2 is quite a fun camera. It does offer a lot of features. It still offers things like full HD video. You have this dedicated record button on the back of the camera, and it starts recording. If you wanted to stop the recording process, of course, you can just push the button again and it will stop. You can obviously control the manual focusing if you set it to that, or you can set the camera to autofocus and even use face detection to constantly adjust focus between the subjects. So again, if you want this camera to be a nice travel camera for the family, do some nice photos, but also do some really good full HD videos, this is a great camera to take a look at. There's also other fun features like the advanced filter effect. So on the top of the camera, you have different dial points here, where you can select the ADV, which is the advanced filter functions. And from there, you can push the menu OK. And from there, select the different advanced filter options like toy camera, miniature effect, pop color, high key, low key, and various different advanced filters, including the ability to partially isolate one color from the whole scene, making that whole scene monochrome. So again, I kind of like it, and refer back to the pumpkin patch during Halloween, where you can isolate the orange in the scene from all the pumpkins, and everything else turns black and white. It's a really cool effect to have, and it's built in right onto the camera itself. In addition to that, you have, of course, different scene shooting modes, from portrait, landscape, that auto adjust. There's even a nice portrait enhancement feature on this camera, where it will actually soften the skin tones, so that it gives you less imperfections in your skin. If you want to kind of look younger, you could do that. It's a fun effect to have. There's also even a scene recognition plus auto mode that will automatically detect the subject, whether it's a portrait, whether that portrait is standing in a backlit scene. It's going to know that it needs to use the flash, so it will force the flash. Of course, you know, your flash is right there, and you can set it up to do auto flash or force the flash to take the picture. In addition to that scene recognition auto, it also determines focusing. So if you have the camera pointed very close, it's going to auto switch the focusing system to change it to macro if it needs to, so that it can adjust the focus automatically for you. And with this 16 to 15 millimeter lens, you can get as close as 15 centimeters away from the subject. So it's a nice feature to have, not having to change the macro functionality. And if you want just the camera to be a nice point and shoot, you know, you can do that. But the great thing about the X-A2 and about compact system cameras is that it does have, just like a DSLR, capabilities to adjust both shutter speeds and aperture. So you can, as you get better with the camera, control the depth of field by changing the aperture or controlling the shutter speed so that you can freeze a subject or create motion blur, or even do low light shooting where you want to do long exposure. You can do that with this particular camera, and it just makes it very, very simple to use. You have this nice command down the back of this camera that can adjust a lot of settings. So if you are in those manual modes in terms of aperture or shutter, that loaded down on top actually allows you to adjust those settings. Okay. You also got a command down on the side here that can also change different settings. There's high-speed continuous shooting modes just like the X-A1 would have. So if you ever wanted to really quickly focus on a subject and capture them in action, you can set that up, and it really takes the guesswork away. Again, you have a dedicated button, as you can see here. It fires a bunch of shots, and again, you can set it up to do continuous autofocus as well as continuous high-speed shooting, so that it's constantly adjusting its focus during that shooting phase. So it's a nice thing to have with the X-A2. So if you're considering to pick up an X-A2 or even a compact system camera, don't be afraid to take a look at the X-A2. It uses the same sensor size as most DSLR cameras, using sort of an APS-C CMOS sensor, so you can get, again, incredible low light capabilities as well as nice shallow depth of field. If you really want to isolate the subject from the background, you know, it's much easier to do it with a larger sensor like this than it is to do it with, say, a standard point and shoot or even a cell phone. So this is a great camera to look at if you're, you know, have a new young child that's being born, or, you know, it's a special occasion. You know, it's just going to do everything that a DSLR is going to do, but it's much smaller and much lighter. And if you're comfortable with just using an LCD screen and not having to use the optical viewfinder, then this camera is a camera that you should take a look at. Fuji is well known for the image quality, and you can really get some really nice skin tones, some nice sky shots, and just if you're a day at the park and you're taking photos, you can your pictures will come out really stunning. So, you know, if you want more information about the X-A2, again, you know, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course follow us on Twitter at Fuji Guys. Until then, I'm Billy of the Fuji Guys.